We kick off with Rwanda. The country's effort to getting cashless by 2020 has inspired the development of the Internet of Things infrastructure within the country. With over 30,000 unregulated Moto taxis, app developers intend to utilize this particular opportunity. I earlier spoke to Karanveer Singh, who's the CEO and founder of Yego Innovation, on this and more. Take a look.
This is not a hailing service. This is a meter service. So as far as we are concerned, each motorcycle will be outfitted with a meter. The meter will basically calculate the fare based upon distance and time.
Right.
And you would be able to stop any moto on the road. Just tell the motor driver the destination. You don't need to then get into the haggling the negotiation which normally takes place. Right. So the meter will calculate it and you pay. Now when it comes to payment, one of the options for payment is mobile money. But you can, in the beginning, we will allow you to pay with cash. But as you know, Rwanda's 2020 vision talks about going cashless. Right. So we will have many other means of going cashless using NFC, using EMV, bank credit card, debit card. Right. So all the options will be available to you. Yegomoto as a platform is basically designed to do a couple of things. The first thing that we're going to be implementing is that people should be able to pay for the ride by meter. But that basically, according to us, in the long term, revenue would be only about 10% of the revenue. So what are we going to do with Yegomoto? Yegomoto for us is basically a platform. For what? It's a platform for logistics. Not only logistics, but it's a platform for e-commerce for Rwanda. So what do I mean by that? Think of it in a couple of ways. Take city of Kigali. 1.2, 1.3 million people living there. How many of these people are capable of giving services or goods? What constrains them today is the fact that they are geolocated in one particular place. So their circle of influence or ability to be able to sell or provide goods. Maybe I'm a laundry service. How far can I collect laundry from, or a dry cleaning service, or a bakery? How far can my customers be from me? Either their place of work is close by or they live in the vicinity and utilize my facilities, right? So I'm limiting it. Look at it from the other side. You have motos who only work 40% of the time. 60% of the time, the moto driver is idle. So you have this whole logistics capability which is existing but is not being utilized. Then you have the consumer who wants goods and services but doesn't know how to access them. So what Yegomoto is going to be is the complete platform for logistics and for e-commerce. So just supposing there's a customer who wants, like I want to send this jacket for laundry, you will call in the initial stages, because we're in Africa, you can call our call center, which is 24/7. We have a short code 9191. Right. Speak to our agent and say that you want to be able to give something for laundry, right, and a jacket or clothes or whatever. The person will then give you an option of 3, 4, 5 people who could probably launder it, and with the service cost, the person will say yes. We will send a moto driver to pick it up, right, to give it to the laundry. After it's laundered, it comes back to you.
Okay. Apart from those modalities, let's just get into the capital aspect of it and the money that you've put in, $14 million US.
Yes.
And now, you provide the data, the full-face helmets, you put the GPS in. This doesn't really feel as if it's quantified within the 14 million. Help us understand that even before we get into how much money you anticipate back.
Rwanda today has 70,000 motorcycles. So if you take the scale that Kigali has 15,000 and you extrapolate the figures and say that they're going to take it to 70,000, you will exceed the 14 million.
So it's a presumptive amount.
It is a presumptive amount,
right,
yes. But we would exceed. So there's the hardware. There is the OPEX cost of being able to provide the services. There's also the SIM card and the data cost. There are the helmets. There is the life, which we estimate to be about 2.5 years. Every phone has electronics, it has a battery.
Right.
Now imagine this is being used in the harsh environment outside with rain, dust, vibration. So even though it's a ruggedized, waterproof device, we estimate the life to be between 2 to 3 years. Average lifespan being 2.5 years. Now it's a meter service. So if that, for any reason, stops working, we will replace it.
Right.
So in the total cost, if you look at it, of the project, the $14 million is the CapEx investment to cover the cost of the initial devices, cover the cost of services. When the project begins to kick back and provide cash flow, that will then be self-funding. is what we expect.
So a bulk of it going into recurring operating costs.
Absolutely.
Now let's get to...
And replacement costs for the devices.
All right, perfect. Let's get into the amount that you anticipate back. Before we get into that, we know about regulation. The Rwandan market, you mentioned in a different interview that you're not sure what percentage the business is entitled to, mainly because the market is not properly regulated or not regulated at all. Just give us your perspective.
The motorcycle market today is loosely regulated through, they have a federation, they have unions, and then they have cooperatives.
Right.
As far as we are concerned, there are two ways in which we are entering the market. First is that we are working with the government to be able to provide visibility back into the system. So we have a permission from the government to install this in 100% of all motos in Rwanda. The second is to work with the federation and the cooperatives and the unions, where we again have a sign up for 100% of all the motos.
Right.
So the question is going to be that from the time that we implement the project, there are going to be challenges. One of the big challenges, even in a city like Kigali, we face is, since these devices are connected devices and they're talking back up to our cloud application, if there is some spot where there is no data connectivity, we could have our service impacted. So what we are doing right now is to, I would say, iterate and to come up with methodologies which would basically give us a backup plan. So as a metered device, neither the motor driver nor the passenger should be inconvenienced.
Right.
And that's what's taking us a little bit of time to tweak it, because in the ideal world, where you have fantastic data connectivity, there's no issue. But we're in Africa.
All right. I just have one question based on what I asked you about the figures. How much longer can you survive, can your business survive without relying on the revenue? Because at the moment, you're not sure, again, what percentage the business is entitled.
The investment that we are putting in is basically to ensure that we have, you can say, almost 2.5 years worth of funding.
Right.
And we believe that within 2.5 years, we would have crossed that hump where the cash flow would be able to support the business.
All right, perfect. Bringing now to another point, what informed your business model? Was it the 30,000 motors that were currently there when you were entering the market, or is it the 1.2 million people?
Before we started the business, we studied it for about 1.5 years. So we studied the number of motors, we went to all the cooperatives, we looked at the number of rides, we looked at the cost that a motor driver has to pay to rent the motorcycle, how much is his fuel cost. We looked at how much passengers pay, and we collated data. In fact, we have probably more data than Rwanda as a country has on the motor business, because there is no visibility today. So we did all the analysis to be able to find out exactly how much money is going through the system. According to us, there is sufficient amount of revenue which is being generated on a daily basis. So if you were to look at simple maths, if you were to say 15,000 motors, time 30 trips, time the minimum fare of 300 francs, you very quickly get to assimilate how much money is going to come through the system. Right. We're talking about billions of Rwandan francs going through the system. One of our competitors here, a company that started about 3 years ago, called Safe Motors.
Entirely as a hailing app.
As a hailing app.
Right.
Was charging 110 francs. And was paying the driver 90 francs. So they had basically 18% spread.
Right.
Okay, we don't believe we need to go that far. I think because we are not going to be working with 50 or 100 or 150 motorcycles, but we are going to be working with 15,000 to 18,000 in Kigali and 70,000 in the entire country. So our revenue streams are going to be much higher.
It brings me to my last point. Let's talk about a comparison on a macro level. Uber was trying Yegomoto in India, as well as some similar business etiquette on the same. Now, they launched in Faridabad. It didn't take off, mainly because they said that those using it were not savvy with IT, but it kicked off in Gurgaon. Given that and what we know with government intervention, what best practices do you think we would be able to replicate?
Firstly, I think that the Uber model doesn't fit Africa.
Right.
It's meaningless. And that's a problem that Safe Motors has also had. You can't take something that works in the Western world, for example, and just say, you know, I'm going to take it and bring it to Africa. Look at the reality. if today I was to order a vehicle using, say, Safe Motors, it would take 15 to 25 to 30 minutes. Very often, after I've even ordered it, after 20, 25 minutes, I get a cancellation, either cancelled by the company or cancelled by the driver himself. Okay? If I step onto the road, even 4 o'clock in the morning, almost everywhere in Kigali, there's a Moto standing there.
Right.
Why do I need to then wait for a Safe Moto? If every Moto has got a meter, in every Moto, his driving capability or his ability is being monitored. So the safety is assured in the same way. We are going to train all the drivers the same way. You don't need a hailing app. Main other thing is that, okay, even though a lot of people have smartphones, a lot of people don't know how to use smartphones in Africa. But a lot of people don't even have smartphones.
Right.
So why do you want to preclude them? Are they not entitled to a ride? So yes, an Uber part of it would be in our application for people who want to, say, book a ride, say at 4 o'clock in the morning or 6 o'clock in the morning, or you've gone to a place where there is no Moto available. Right. There would be reasons for doing it. But not in, I would say that it doesn't really, it would be 5% of our business is our estimation at best. 95% of it would be just street hailing.